Nice hoodie.
Oh, here we go.
And welcome back to Hurdle the Line. This is the week 7 preview show. Hello, everybody. It's Chapman, your host. I have been away for the last couple of weeks, mainly because I was getting married and also on honeymoon. So it's really good to be back. It's good to see my teammates. I've got Tom, resident Chiefs fan, sitting pretty at 6-0, and the one, the only, our super producer, Fletch, with the second other best team in the NFL, the Detroit Lions, who flex some major muscles, winning a great game in Minnesota, which we're going to get to today. Gentlemen, how are we? How are our weekends? You both won. I lost. So that's
Beautiful
why you're
victory
smiling, and
Monday.
I'm crying on the inside.
Only undefeated team left in the NFL. So yeah,
Yeah,
lovely Monday.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
welcome.
Well,
You're welcome for that. The Listen, as I said in a TikTok video put on the Asleep at Work network before, because we do TikTok now because we're cool. Um, I hated that whole game from start to finish, and then till it finished, and then I was like, "Yay, great, we won!" It was a horrible game to not be a neutral for. All good though, but count. I mean, come on, we can't just let that one slide. Congratulations,
Yeah, congratulations.
congratulations, sir.
got it. Yeah, thank you. It was a lovely time. We had a very small wedding here in London, and then we flew to the on 2 Thursdays ago, and then we flew out to the Dolomites and did a week of hiking in northern Italy, and which is very weird. I don't know if you guys know about the Dolomites. It's so it's in northern Italy. It's all the really beautiful mountains and stuff, and then but like parts the towns are German, so you have people who are Italian but they speak German. And then they serve German food and German beer, and then you'll go somewhere else and there'll be pasta and pizza and whatever. It was amazing. So it was really great.
That's
I
awesome.
drove a lot of time in the car driving around. That it was great, and I'm very lucky. I got to marry my best friend, so it's very cool.
No, wait, we did get married.
Yeah, oh, wow.
Wow, I might not get right. Okay, then
Uh,
that's me
that
done
took a minute.
completely.
That took a whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
We're gonna get to this game in a minute, Fletch. I do not know how you could not. I mean, like, I get it as a fan, but like, I've seen the Falcons in some heavyweight bouts. I enjoyed every minute of it. It's so fun. Like, that's the fun. But anyway, we'll get to that in a second. Um, Glad everybody's doing well. Let's hit some news. So, unfortunately, it's this time of year. News means injuries. So, yesterday we saw Brandon Ayuk go down. Tom, do you remember? I'm sorry, I was watching the game, but I can't remember what was it. Have they declared what it is yet, or Fletch, either
I
one?
think it's suspected to be an ACL because it was the way
Uh,
that he came down. Yeah, his leg should not have bent the way that it did
no,
again for the,
yeah,
so it wasn't, yeah, it was. And he got taken off on a cart, which is never a good sign either.
never good.
Didn't put any pressure on the leg or anything. So, I mean,
And
it's kind
obvious,
of been a very, down season for him anyway. Even after signing that contract, missing training camp and stuff. So, yeah, not great news for the 49ers.
well, I'm a big Bill Simmons podcast fan, even though Bill Simmons is the most Boston homer of all time. But he is a great podcaster interviewer. And as he every year says, it's the team from hell. And it feels like the 49ers are having the year from hell. Sorry, the year from hell. And they're that team this year. Yeah, Ayuk, he holds out, finally gets that contract, and then it's just been kind of a nothing. And then, unfortunately getting hurt. Someone who also had a huge contract who got hurt is Sean Watson. And look, we're not going to revel in any sort of injuries, but it is slightly odd that we've come to this place where, they kept putting him out there and people were questioning that, obviously, because he was playing, so poorly. And he ruptured his Achilles, which it's one a buddy of mine texted me last night when it happened. It was like, you can actually see it, like Aaron
Mm,
Rodgers too. You
yeah,
could see, you can literally
you
see
can
the
see
Yeah.
it.
Achilles rupture,
Yeah.
and he is out for the rest of the season. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that's probably the last time he'll ever play for the Browns, and potentially might be his career as an NFL player.
Mm.
You know, Never say never. Obviously, teams get desperate, but you know, it's tragic. And obviously, the Falcons were in the mix for Deshaun Watson at one point, and I think we're probably sitting in the front seat until the Browns owner decided to guarantee the entire contract. But wow, one of the worst trades in the history of all American sports, I believe,
Mm,
um, for what they
yeah.
got. So, this thing is, I think that might mean there's some hope for the Browns. I mean, Jameis Winston didn't play yesterday because he was also hurt, weirdly. But he'll be starting for them. So I wonder. It'll be interesting to hear how Ollie feels about that when he gets back on the pod. Finally, unfortunately, one of the biggest, brightest stars of this early season has been Jaden Daniels, and he had a rib injury yesterday. Missed most of the game, but it didn't stop the Commanders from absolutely destroying the poor Carolina Panthers. But anyway, he's going to be week to week. It looks like right now. So those are the major injuries.
Yeah.
I think we've covered it. Oh, and also DK Metcalf for the Seattle Seahawks did leave with a knee injury, but it doesn't look like it's going to be too bad. So he probably won't be missing any time.
I got one
Uh,
more from Chiefs camp as well. He's been playing really well at corner. Jalen Watson along playing opposite Trent McDuffie. I think he didn't tear anything, but he like dislocated or fractured something, so he's going to be out probably the rest of the season, which is a shame because he's been having a really breakout year. So
yeah.
yeah.
Um, the only other injury that I kind of had of note was Xavier Newman from the Jets, who was carted off and taken to hospital yesterday with a neck injury, which is obviously, look, a neck injury in any sort of situation is terrible. It's just horrible news. Um, but luckily, I think as he was leaving, they were saying that he was squeezing the hand of the trainers, and I think he'd done something like wave or something. He was taken to hospital, evaluated, and flew home with the Jets last night. So great news for him that he will clearly be fine. But it's obviously it's never a nice thing to see. And I know a couple of people are asking today how he was. So if anyone hasn't seen that update yet, that's how he is.
And Aiden O'Connell as well. He fractured his
Oh,
thumb or broke his thumb, and he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. So
4 to
they
6 weeks.
placed him on IR, I think.
It's always funny when they bench a quarterback, and then within that 1 week, the backup quarterback gets hurt, and then the bench quarterback has to now come back in. So
Yeah.
hooray, hooray, Raiders! Um, so going into this week 7, I was very excited about this slate of games. I thought it was going to be a lot of really fun matchups. Maybe not quite to the heights that we had last week, but I was like, oh, this is some really good matches, and ended up being two really good games, one okay game, and then just a lot of teams showing us who they are, and just a lot of blowout, just not great games. So we're going to focus on the two really good games, and then the other one that was okay, which is obviously Tom, your game. But we have to start with what was the heavyweight battle of the weekend. It was the Detroit Lions traveling to Minnesota Vikings, pulling out a 31-28 win. It was awesome. What a great game. I was at the Hippodrome last night, and for those of you who don't know, that is the casino in London. It's where I go and watch football a lot of weekends with my friends. And they have a big stage. They have 3 big TVs, and they have little TVs all around. They play every game, but they always choose. And man, that game was right front and center. I had Packers, Texans on my right, and then I had Falcons, Seahawks, which was a letdown, obviously, on my left. But it was awesome. So I got to watch those 3 games sort of in my big theater preview. But we have a Detroit Lions fans here. Talk about this game. You said you didn't enjoy it, which I get because it was probably very tense, but you came out on top. Jared Goff, he is him, showing. I mean, it was just a great team game, man. Talk about it. Tell us about how you,
I
how you
think
feel.
I think it's a bit, well, it's a little bit of hyperbole to say I did not enjoy all of the game. I enjoyed the second quarter. Second quarter was fantastic. And most of the third quarter was also pretty decent. I quite liked half of the game. That was really nice. However, that fourth quarter was just it just kind of feels like, look, we've rode a lot of, I guess, look, we held other than that first drive where we let Aaron Jones through, just he managed to just break, and then it's a touchdown. We held them to a field goal. It felt after that we were doing really well, just holding the Vikings. They weren't doing much apart from that one break, and offense took a minute to get going. Goff went 15 for 15 to start the game, which is just unreal again. Um, and but yeah, it just seems to kind of start crumbling at the end and let the Vikings in, and they got a bit of confidence. There was the fumble return for a touchdown, and it just started to get a bit crazy. But
Singletary, sorry, Montgomery.
yeah,
Yeah, getting the ball punched out.
yeah. So I get again looking back, I can see where it was a great game for neutrals. I'm very much I live in the game. All my emotions are tied to that screen for however long. Very much again, I leave it all in there. So I can't enjoy. I barely enjoyed much of the Cowboys win when we played them, just because I can't leave that kind of mental zone until it's done. Um, but yeah, it was overall quite
We're gonna
interesting.
do off therapy off pod with Fletch later about this, but um, so from a neutral standpoint, golf was brilliant, and then also Jameer Gibbs, man,
Yes.
he looked awesome. What
He
was
looked
really interesting
ridiculous.
yesterday, yeah, he looked great, and it was really interesting to think about how people were second guessing the Lions drafting him where they did, and I get it. You can talk about running backs, but man, he is dude, that dude was great. Equally, the Minnesota defense was awesome
Yes.
yesterday and made things really tough for the Lions. But that's why I was even more impressed with Goff yesterday because we've seen Goff in the past. I'm thinking Rams days where he was that kind of pressure and sort of that kind of defense
Yeah.
used to just totally dismantle him. But he was cool, calm, no mistakes yesterday in terms of, but he also had a running game that really supported him
Yes.
and still a great defense. Sam Darnold looked really good. He did have one pick, but he also had a touchdown. He threw for both yards, but also Aaron Jones, who we thought maybe wasn't going to play, came in. I think this is a rematch we might see. This could have been a
Mm,
preview of the NFC Championship game.
yep.
Um, I think both these teams are awesome and really fun to watch. And somebody who loves football, it was a really great game. And yeah, Tom, what did you think? I mean, did you get to
Yeah,
watch it?
yeah, I agree. I think Jameer Gibbs looked as explosive as I mean, whenever he gets one of those runs where he gets an open space, like good luck catching him. Obviously Montgomery got a bit banged up, so that's why his workload was a bit down. But yeah, Jameer Gibbs had a monster game. That Jefferson touchdown and it brought the Vikings back in it. And that was a good throw by Sam Darnold. Yeah, I'm the same with you, Chapman. I mean, as a neutral, just a great game to watch, and also I really do think that Jared Goff should be in the MVP conversation with the way that he's playing right now. I mean, he's playing clean for football. He's not turning the ball over, and as you said, previously in the past when the blitz has come, he's folded a bit or whatever, but he stood up to it and he played absolutely excellently. So and yeah, he's a big reason why the Lions are 5-1. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
Absolutely. I do want to say as well, but I'm going to agree with that statement, obviously, but I can't agree with it too much without being too biased. But no, I think you're absolutely right. A lot of the stats are there, the tape's there. I think it is unarguable that it could be in that conversation. I won't go much further than that. Can I talk for a second though about one? Over the last few years, it's always felt like you kind of walk away and go, for God's sake, Justin Jefferson's completely killed us all game,
Mm.
even when we've won. It's felt like Justin Jefferson has just completely ruined us. Yes, he got was it 87 yards on
88,
seven, yeah, 88. Did not feel like he didn't get his normal 267,
81.
whatever it is that he normally gets. He's normally in like the
He
doesn't
had
ridiculous
he
a
range.
average
frustrating
like
day.
135
Yeah,
yards a game against like
He,
the
he,
Lions or
he
he
had a
something?
had a
game,
frustration.
but
But he had a frustrating day because
Mm.
they cut to him on the sideline multiple times and he was looking pissed off because he knew, yeah. So I think you're going to compliment someone on the defense, Fletch.
yeah.
Is that where you're going with that
So
one?
no, I think I was going to compliment the whole back end of the defense as a whole. Listen, me and Tom especially have had multiple jokes about Kindle Vildor and Kirby Joseph and all that. I think that the Kirby Joseph Brian Branch safety duo is looking like one of the best in the league at the moment. Um, Terry and Arnold, since the bye week, has really shown that he's worked on some of the little flaws that he was having early on, some of them rookie mistakes,
Mm.
still there. But and I wanted to kind of really point out the Brian Branch at the
Brian
moment.
Branch was
Brian Branch
insane.
has had potentially two defensive player of the weeks, and the pick itself was phenomenal. Like the reach out, I think you tip it and get it in one hand and then bring it in. Just a fantastic play. So yeah, I want to say that without our pass rush, even our run defense looked a bit worse for wear yesterday throughout the whole game. And It's a different conversation for a different day. What I think we should do about that, but credit to the defensive backs who continue to make life not particularly easy, because the whole point we were talking about last year was that when the Lions finally got good, it was because the pass rush helped the DBs. Now the DBs is starting to help the pass rush, and I'm very much appreciative of that.
Yeah,
Well,
you're
I
right
would.
about Brian Branch though. Like, yeah, he made so many impact plays. I think he made a play as well where it got called back, where like I can't remember what it was, but
Punch
he
the ball
punched
out.
it out, didn't he, right, or something? And then it turned
Sorry,
out that his foot was out of bounds, so that they brought it back to that point. But
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was towards the end of the game. Yeah, yeah.
fantastic
yeah,
play.
exactly. And that was kind of a momentum shifter because then was it after that that the Vikings then got the
Yes,
block
yeah,
and then
they got a touchdown on that drive. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So that was quite like a big, but yeah, great game for the neutral, that's for sure.
Well, I also think we need to give props. I've been a Sam Darnold questioner only because for a long time, mainly because he was a Jet, and I can't really support Jets fans. No offense, Jets fans, who please listen. You can hate me. But I was really impressed with him today, even in a loss. It's cool to look. I love underdog stories, especially I'm American. We love underdogs, and I think like even though I know he was drafted third or whatever overall, but man, he's out of tough COVID, and he's found Kevin O'Connell has really revitalized him in a way, and I think it did start last year in San Francisco, obviously, but um, you know, he's looking great too, and he deserves a lot of credit even in this loss.
yeah,
I think these are two really good teams, and I think the NFC is very top heavy. And and the NFC North unfortunately has three of the best teams out of five, I think, in
Yeah.
this division. So it'll be really interesting. But this was an awesome game. I'm looking forward to seeing the repeat in Detroit, and then possibly a third round sometime in the playoffs,
And now
possibly.
they lead the NFC North as well. The Lions took the lead off the Vikings
Yeah,
with the win as well, didn't they? So that was
um,
yeah.
icing on the cake.
something to look forward to as we talk on Thursday on the preview team is we're going to talk about Thursday night football and the Lions hangover. I am very much of the bigger the Lions hangover is real, ladies and gentlemen. It's real. We're everyone's Super Bowl now, but the Lions hangover is real. A lot of teams. So many teams that we played have struggled the game straight after playing the Lions. Now
Mm.
the Vikings have a short week and they travel to LA for Thursday night football. I'm dare I say we could be a game ahead next week because we've got the Titans, and I'm not exactly worried about our pass rush against them at the moment, to be honest. So
Well, we'll see about that. It'll be interesting to see if that goes. But I mean, that's a Thursday night football is just tough all the way around, no matter. I think, but yeah, on a short week. So I definitely think both these teams played as hard as they could. So moving right along, and by the way, I got the score wrong earlier. I meant to say that the Lions won 31-29, not 28. The second game, which also involves an NFC North team, was the Houston Texans traveling up to Green Bay. They lose in a tight one, 24-22, on a last, like literally a 1 second last field goal uh, by Green Bay at the end of the game to win. This one was by McManus, right? A 45-yarder. This again was not quite as good a game as the other one in terms
Mm.
of quality of play. CJ Stroud did not have a very strong day, and
Had
Jordan Love,
87
while
yards passing. Like
yeah,
that
yeah,
is stifling defense. That is.
yeah, yeah. And Jordan Love, while he did have 3 touchdowns, also threw 2 picks, and equally wasn't as like you look at the stats, but like watching that game, but it still was a really good game. It was really tight. Obviously, both these teams are playing have been playing really well this season. Tom, did you get a chance to watch this one as well?
Yeah, yeah. I would say the main takeaway I had from it is that the Texans really missed um
Nico.
Nico Collins. Like there wasn't a receiver that had over 30 yards. I think the only person with more than that was Dalton Schultz. So like it really wasn't a great pass catching performance from the. It wasn't a great game from the Texans from that standpoint, but they fair play to them. They stuck it out. Obviously, Joe Mixon had a good game. He came back from injury and he's just continuing to, really perform well in that offense. And that's kind of what kept them in the game. But yeah, with Green Bay, I think Green Bay's defense is for real. And yeah, obviously Jordan Love, yeah, he looks more and more like Brett Favre every time I see him. Like he's either going to throw a beautiful pass for a touchdown or
Bomb
a
down,
great
yeah.
game, and then he's going to throw like some terrible interception. So yeah,
I've done this for 2 years in a row now, where I keep drafting in my fantasy leagues Green Bay wide receivers, and to be fair, I've done Watson twice, and I keep dropping them, and then they win, they do well the weekend after I drop them. Then I pick up Wicks. After the weekend he does well, then he does nothing. I drop him, and then of course he catches a 30-yard touchdown. I am out on Green Bay wide receivers. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I'm done with you.
if it's any
You're just
help, Chapman, I started Jaden Reed in both the leagues that I have, and he had like 2 fantasy points, but he has been like I think he's wide receiver number 8 on the year or something. So like he
yeah.
has been doing well, but he didn't do that well for me this week. And Dontavian Wicks was on the bench. But yeah,
Christian Watson can go on to have a Hall of Fame career. I will never touch that man again. He has done me dirty. Um,
I'm the same with Amari Cooper. Don't worry, I get 100% that pain.
well, watch him crush it tonight. Or sorry, he scored a touchdown yesterday,
he
didn't he?
did. What was quite funny is that touchdown. He didn't even know what route he was running. That Keon Coleman had to tell him what he was doing, and then he's got a touchdown on it. So fair play to.
Yeah. Um, well, this game was really funny. I mean, like I said, there was 2 interceptions, and looks like Texans had 2 sacks on the day. It was a very tight game. I think the thing I will remember the most was the white helmets that the Green Bay was wearing. They were wearing their winter, what was it called? Winter Warrior, Winter Welcome, Winter something helmets. Forgive me, guys. Which I did actually like. I liked them, and there was a lot of like frozen cheese heads. I don't know in the crowd, which was fun. Um, Look, both these teams are probably going to the playoffs this year. I would assume, unless something, well, you possibly. Obviously, Minnesota and Detroit, but I think this might be our one of our wild card teams. But yeah, it was interesting to see CJ really struggle. He really, really struggled today. And I wonder if Texans, without Nico and with some of those injuries, they might be in for a rough couple of weeks until they get back healthy.
Wait,
Um,
sophomore slump.
yeah,
Yeah,
I was predicting it, but then I was told I was an idiot because they're too good on the coaching side and the talent side. But yeah, who knows?
I mean,
Uh,
he's like, I'm not being funny. You can't just stop being a talented quarterback overnight.
nah,
But sometimes it's one of those. Your first season, people are figuring you out with certain things, and it's experienced DCs and elite defenses that like the Packers, because at the end of the day, as much as they're an elite defense, well coached, well brought, well maintained defense. They figured out little plans for you just to frustrate you. Um, And I have no doubt personally that I think CJ Stroud is more than talented enough with that coaching to come back from it. But at the end of the day, it's undeniable that like in your second year, people have figured out what you're good at and what you're not good at, and how to kind of get.
Mm. And one of the most funny things about this game is that Stephon Diggs carried on his beef with Jair Alexander, which is quite funny because watching him after the game, he was like, I don't let anything go. That's just not me. I'm not going to be the bigger man. So, he has that bitterness about him, and that definitely came across in the pre-game, and I think maybe even in the post game as well.
I realize life advice is not necessarily our podcast's unique selling point, but what I would say is, Stefan, as a man of 43 years of age, let shit go. Let things go. Trust
Yeah.
me. As you get older, pick the things you're going to be upset about because life's short and sometimes just let stuff go. Anyway, I think we've talked enough about this game. Let's move on to uh, what was anticipated to be the game of the week and was, no offense, Tom, a quite boring game in my view. I'm talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. They traveled up to the bell bottoms, up to San Francisco to take on 49ers, what was a Super Bowl rematch of not just one, but two different Super Bowls now with these teams. And once again, Kyle Shanahan's 49ers are unable to rise up to the task. The Chiefs still undefeated. Tom, before I throw it to you, the thing that I walked away from this was, yes, Brock Purdy didn't have all his tools, but Brock Purdy played one of the worst games I've ever seen this guy play. And I think he's a really talented quarterback. I think he's taken for granted because of the things around him and the team. But man, and I say that because I think the strength of the Chiefs is this defense. And that is what won you a Super Bowl last year. And yes, you have the most talented quarterback on the planet, but he isn't playing like it right now. But your defense is probably the most unheralded group in all the NFL. Tell me about what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I could have told you that last season. I mean, it
Well,
is.
Tom, we know you got all the answers. Come
Come on,
on.
come on. But yeah, the defense is playing absolutely elite right now. It doesn't matter whether it's the linebackers. There was a play that Nick Bolton made in the game where he jumped up and he looked like TJ Watt, not TJ Watt, JJ Watt. But yeah, like the defense is just absolutely elite. The fact that two rookies both have picks as well. Chris Roland Wallace, I believe his name is. He had a pick, and then so did Jaden Hicks as well, as did Justin Reed. So yeah, as you said, yeah, Brock Purdy was under pressure. Made some terrible decisions though as well. Yeah, you can say about the lack of weapons and stuff. He was down to his fourth, fifth wide receivers. The Chiefs aren't playing with all their wide receivers either, so you can't just blame it on that. But yeah, he definitely didn't play his best in terms of he was trying to, like Tom Brady was talking about it, trying to fit the ball into windows that weren't there. Obviously, Mahomes didn't have his best game, but at the end of the day, he still had probably the play of the game, the 33-yard run. Where he basically shrugged off Fred Warner, one of the best linebackers in the game.
We need to talk about this a little bit because I'd like to actually get Fletch's opinion on this because there's been some discussion on this. I love, this is the brilliance of Mahomes. Mahomes fakes like he's going to go out of bounds, then cuts back in, gets a couple more yards. We all know that's not cheating, but it's cheating. It's kind of cheating, but it's smart cheating. This is
Legal
something we
cheating.
might, yeah, legal cheating. Um, Fletch, did you ever feel that? Because, like, to me, I'm like, I mean, that's great, but we've got to regulate this. Then we have to, because I do, because my big thing is, I feel like we're calling it way too much against the like we've over indexed on protecting quarterbacks at this point, and I'm wondering if we maybe could back up a little. Fletch, you have any thoughts?
I mean, right, it's a bit of a weird one because you see some of the ones where it has the same thing of. Do you ever see that video from college sometimes where like, the guy will fake a fair catch, it isn't a fair catch. So they'll wait, kicking team leave it, and then he runs and scores a touch. Little things like that. Same kind of vibe. Same kind of. And the thing I normally see people say about that is, well, next time, even when a guy calls a fair catch, hit him anyway. You never know. It, the legal cheat is one of them. Like, I just, I don't see,
You're
I
not
don't see
hitting
the
Patrick
problem.
Mahomes though.
Listen, I don't necessarily. If it's within the rules, it's within the rules. At the end of the day,
No, it's
um,
great gamesmanship. That's what great teams do. They play their great gamesmanships, and like
but
he's smart.
yeah, but I can see the argument for where I don't know, maybe a defensive player does make a tackle as someone's running out of bounds because they're never sure now, and you put a defense in that whole weird scenario where if he is running out of bounds, then I can't tackle him. But what if he's not and he does this? It puts him in that weird thing. So I don't know. I've never really thought much about it. I'll be
Well,
perfectly honest. You're putting me on the spot
well,
a bit.
here's the thing that's going to happen, Fletch. What you said, typically you would not hit Patrick Mahomes in that situation because they're always going to throw. No offense, Tom. He's Patrick Mahomes. They're going to protect him. The league will. But I think he'll get hit in the next 2 weeks on a play like that, and we'll see how it goes. You know what I'm saying? So anyway,
What I
it's a
found
little
quite
thing.
what I found quite funny is that today he did that. He brought it down to the 4 yard line, and then he goes and then trucks a defender to score a touchdown as
Wow.
well, which was hilarious. And then even the guy afterwards, after he'd been hit, he posted it and was like, "Guess that's my welcome to the NFL moment. Get trucked by Patrick Mahomes on 4th and goal." To basically
Uh,
seal the game, which then obviously McCole Hardman, obviously shout out to him. He had a really good game as well, special teams and just in the jet sweeps and stuff. And the Chiefs definitely found they knew that the 49ers were weak, between the tackles. Kareem Hunt had a field day just running, like even if it was just short yardage touchdowns. Once they got in the red zone, the Chiefs actually scored touchdowns, which is something they haven't been able to do so successfully this season. And that was something that was quite positive to
Uh,
see.
can I just give a shout out? I'd say it's one of the. I think I've never really thought much about it. I'll be perfectly honest. I just don't. I just haven't. Um, I do want to give a shout out on this game though. To at the moment because you talk about that Chiefs defense. Just a couple of standouts for me that I've been seeing, and obviously Chris Jones. I guy's elite. End of story. But also, is it Leo Chanel?
Oh yeah,
Leo
the
Chanel,
linebacker. Yeah.
absolutely brilliant.
Mm.
And he's a name. I've never heard anyone mention him over the last. I've not heard anyone mention him over the last few weeks, which surprises me and because he's been absolutely phenomenal.
He can
But no one's
basically
talking
be
about him.
another offensive lineman. Like he's that versatile. Like you can get him in. If you got like if you got two tight ends set, he can be like line up as an offensive lineman and push you forward. And yeah, he's been a real impact player at linebacker alongside Nick Bolton. And one thing I would shout out as well, Trent McDuffie.
Yes.
He made a great play to knock the ball out of the defender's hands that would have put the 49ers inside the 10 yard line with it still being like a one score game, and he blocked that off, and then in the next play the Chiefs pick Purdy off, and that's kind of it. So
And
yeah.
and Jaden Hicks as well. I think has been
Yeah, Jen
um
Hicks had a pick
also
too.
got a lot of
To-
good stuff.
Tom, do you think Spagnolia,
Spagnolo.
Spags, Spagnola? Sorry. Do you think Spags is getting enough credit?
uh No, but like that's why the Chiefs wear the t-shirts, not in Spags we trust. There's a reason why the guy, I mean, he's one of the best defensive coordinators in the league.
He is
Like
the best defensive coordinator.
I mean, he just knows exactly. It seems over the last few seasons anyway, he just knows exactly when to bring the right pressure from the right moment, where it's 3rd and 10 or whether he's, sending blitzes or whatever. Like they just seem to get it right a lot more than they get it wrong. So yeah, that's a lot of credit goes down to him for that.
Yeah, I seen what if he's stealing signs? We thought about
We don't
this.
make accusations on Hurdle the Line, but come on,
Yeah, exactly.
without
So
evidence. This is not politics. So.
Okay.
We actually have, yeah. Congratulations, Tom. You're 6-0. You get to be, you know, yeah, I know. All right. Going for that three-peat. Let's see. All right. We're gonna move right along, guys. We're not gonna go straight to my game because I feel like that's just too easy. Let's talk about so the New York Jets, after trading for Devontae Adams this week, go to Pittsburgh. Speaking of politics, which also Trump was at the game. I don't know if you know that in between, his shifts at McDonald's.
I did
Um,
see that, yeah.
the Jets go in and they just get beat 37-15. What was interesting about this game for the Steelers is after going 4-2 with Justin Fields, they decide to bench Fields. They start Wilson. I was watching this game. Wilson looked horrible, I would say, for the first three series, and then something clicked, and then he looked like Russell Wilson of old. I will go ahead and admit our audience, I do not like Russell Wilson at all. And But fair enough, he played great after that. And this looked like a genius call by one of the best coaches in the league, Mike Tomlin, to do that. Did you guys get a chance to check this one out?
Yes. Um, I watched until just after the Steelers hit 30 and then just went, right, this game's so done. Good night. The I absolutely I thought this could have been one of those games when Russell Wilson came out and like I say, for those first three, four drives, the Jets looked horrible. The Steelers looked horrible. I just thought it was going to be one of those kind of games that should have been it should have been a Thursday night football game at the start. Um,
Hmm.
but like I say, to his credit, came out. Then, like I say, something clearly clicked. George Pickens looked just brilliant, like really, really good. And I think that Justin Fields has his talents, shall we say, and has what he's good at. But Russell Wilson is someone who's going to get George Pickens more involved in a game, and then you will see more out of George Pickens with that. And my only other comment was like Aaron Rodgers, terrible again. You hate to see it, you really do, but. I don't make the rules. Every time Aaron Rodgers gets picked off, an angel gains wings. Like it's just I don't make the rules. That's what happens.
Well, great game from Najee as well. Do you know what? Do you have over 100 yards on the ground, a touchdown for them? And do you know what I find quite funny is that obviously Devontae Adams got traded to the Jets, so people thought, oh, maybe he makes this impact straight away. I mean, he did nothing basically, and he's lost to the Steelers in back-to-back weeks. So, fun times for him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, not a great. But one day up as well. I swear the Jets were up 15-6 in the second quarter, and then it just went downhill from there. Right?
Pretty sure. Let me just get the box score back up. Didn't have the box score up. Oh, that's why.
That is correct. Yeah, they were.
Yes, they
Yeah, they
were.
were up. Yeah, they were up, and then in the second, and then half ended 15-13, and then
Did nothing for the rest of the game.
yeah,
And Brees Hall had
Aaron,
that. The one good thing for the Jets was that Brees Hall had a good game. Right? He had over 100 yards, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
mhm.
Wait. Brees Hall. Like had 103 yards receiving, 38 on the ground.
Oh, mad.
Yeah. Well, the main thing is that it seems like Rodgers is making bad decisions. He threw two picks in this game.
Yep.
But to be fair to Rodgers, I think the biggest glaring deficiency on the Jets the last 2 years has been this offensive line. And if you're going to invest in a great quarterback who's someone is on the wrong side of 40, you have to protect him.
Yep.
And it's one of the things, again, it's one of the things the Lions have done well for Goff. Goff, historically has not been great with pressure, though he has improved over the years with that. But like as great as Aaron Rodgers is, he's coming off an Achilles tear, and I can talk about my own quarterback coming off that same. You gotta give him time. But I also think Rodgers has made some. I think Rodgers is so good, has been so good in the past. I think Rodgers lays out blame for other people, but like this game, a lot of this game is probably on him to some
Yeah.
extent.
Um,
Obviously it's a team game. Good.
I will add that the Asleep at Work disclaimer: the Asleep at Work Network does not agree with the statements made by Chapman. That fairness, any fairness must be placed towards Aaron Rodgers. We don't agree with that. That is entirely the thoughts and opinions of Chapman on his own. But no, absolutely.
I'm not a company man.
But what I was gonna another thing I was gonna say was though there was a point in the game where look, PR teams love times like this is where PR teams make the money when a Davante Adams gets traded to the New York Jets when they have a Garrett Wilson. This is where in New York these PR teams in New York are getting the money. And you see like Garrett Wilson was releasing statements like I've always been a Davante Adams fan, and it only means everything to me that I get to play with him, and all that one day he'll get to be my opponent. It's even better that he gets to be my mentor. Great PR. But there was a brilliant point in the game where, we all spoke about the Jets have weapons. Like no one debated that the Jets had some very good offensive weapons outside of Aaron Rodgers, but they just weren't working and clicking and gelling. Would Davante Adams come in and make that even worse? It was actually really nice to see Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson on the sideline, and Davante Adams was breaking stuff down with Garrett Wilson and just saying like, "Well, if we're going to do this, then and they were breaking stuff down together, and Garrett Wilson was like was listening quite intently, um, and I just it seems that relationship started off quite well. You could have thought it would have gone quite sour, but
Rocky. Yeah,
Garrett
true.
Wilson, I would say, has taken that well and kind of decided to use it as an opportunity to grow and learn rather than going, well, I'm no longer wide receiver one. So shout out to that. I thought that was really nice to see.
Good observation. It's good. Well, and in life, if somebody great comes into your life and you can get advice from them, you should take it, or
Exactly.
at least consider it. Moving on. We are going to go to my game now. When I mean my game, I mean the lowly Atlanta Falcons. They face the Seattle Seahawks, who came to Atlanta after losing 3 games in a row. And the Falcons came in fat and happy after winning 3 division games in a row. And the Falcons laid a big fat egg.
Mm.
The key to this game was that Geno Smith played a great game. His offensive line gave him tons of time. And what has been the Achilles heel for the Atlanta Falcons for not just this season or even the last couple of years, but literally almost a decade of my life has been there is no pass rush. We are the worst team in terms of sacks. We do get pressure on the quarterback, but it doesn't really result in stuff. We have a great secondary, but AJ Terrell, I know, did not have a excellent game against DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf feasted in this game, but to be fair to AJ, he was asked to cover a guy for multiple seconds overtime because Geno had all day to throw. And in the end, the offense on the Falcons side was not able to keep up with the Seattle. And so what I think this is a game where Seattle lost, won their first 3 games against bad teams. They had some tough games. They're not as bad as I think we think they were, and I think they're probably a pretty good team. The Falcons coming in, winning some nail biters is probably not quite as good, which is not surprising as we thought they were. I still think both these teams are about average, to be honest with you. But Seattle really took it to the Falcons today. Also, Kirk Cousins' worst game as a Falcon so far. Even though I think the bright spot was Bijan, looked awesome, breaking tackles, all sorts of stuff. But the Seattle offense, man, really impressed me yesterday. Walker specifically, he was healthy. He was great on the ground. He was great in the air. I think I saw something on the Fox broadcast where it was his birthday, I think. And he's like, one of 8 players in the NFL to catch and run a touchdown in on his birthday
It was a
ever
great
in the history
catch
of
as
the.
well. The catch he
Yeah,
made from
yeah, it was
Gino was
great.
actually, it was like, that was the sort of catch that a wide receiver makes. That was a nice
Yeah,
catch.
yeah. DK had 99 yards for a touchdown. He left the game a little early with a knee injury, but man, him and if you Google highlights, him and AJ Terrell, who is our standout cornerback, were really having a time. AJ tends to have a hard time with very large physical receivers. Mike Evans being the most brutal example, but it was as a Falcons fan, it was a really hard game to watch. The officiating wasn't great, but the Falcons lost the game regardless of the officiating. But yeah, Seattle just kicked our butts, and it's one of those where you just burn the tape and hopefully move on. Did you guys see anything? Anything that you any highlights or anything on this one?
I was gonna agree with you on at least the one bright spot for the Falcons was that Bijan,
Yes.
he looked as advertised. Like he made some of those cuts where he made, and then he picked up another 5 or 6 yards. Like he played really well, but yeah, obviously wasn't a great game for the Falcons. And yeah, fair play to the Seahawks coming off of 3 straight losses to put a performance like that together on the road. That was impressive. So yeah.
Yeah, the number one thing I think I had going into the game was the Seahawks pass rush against what was not a
Mm.
great Atlanta Falcons pass rush. But the Seahawks offensive line versus the Falcons pass rush, because that's a underperforming on both sides of the ball. Which one was going to have the underperform the most, or finally get a performance in? I was a little shocked to see it was the Seahawks O line that kind of won that battle a bit, because I mean, I was watching videos this week where people were claiming that there were secret agents on the O line for the Seahawks because their offensive line was that bad, with just players
Mm.
making questionable decisions on the line that made things worse. Maybe they just didn't like Gino. But no, I was gonna say the little quiz for you. I was looking at the PFF results today, um, on the Falcons pass rush. Now, only 2 teams in the NFL have a worse pass rush grade than the Falcons. Do you know who they are?
The Panthers
Yep.
Panthers,
and
New
the
England.
Nope.
uh, the Raiders.
No, I mean, to be fair, both of them are not even in the bottom 10. Oh no,
Um,
no, no, they're not. It was the Cardinals.
okay.
Uh,
Cardinals and the Cardinals and the Panthers are the only 2 teams with the worst pass rush. PFF graded pass rush, by the way, because it's not all PFF, and that isn't the be all or end all. Um, which I thought that was interesting to say the least. But that was an
yeah.
interesting stat.
Well, I will say this. This is what the thing I'm most disappointed. You lose games in the NFL. It is what it is. But we bring in Raheem Morris. He brings in Jimmy Lake. They bring in, they got so much out of the rookies and the patchwork players that they had in LA last year. And they had a decent defense. And this defense last year, we did lose Calais Campbell and Bud Dupree in the offseason. It's one sort of rental years, but we had 40 sacks and we were decent. We've been playing well, but this was just a complete collapse. I mean, just not getting anything on Gino. It's really disappointing. And then also Kirk just kind of had a terrible game, and it was
Yeah.
hard. But B. John did have 100 yards, and Kyle Pitts showed up again. Drake London catching another touchdown. He's equaled his career high. So we'll see. We're going down to Tampa next week. That'll be a big game. If you
Yeah.
win that, then you're 4-0 in the division. You have a really good chance of making the playoffs at that point. But we'll see. Anyway, we mentioned that game only because both these teams. So now the Falcons are 4-3, and now the Seattle's 4-3 as well. So these very much in the hunt. I'm going to hit a couple more of these games. Again, the rest of the slate is pretty much a blowout. So we had the last London game, which started on Sunday morning. This is the Patriots losing to the Jaguars 32-16. Doug Peterson keeps his job for another week. Trevor Lawrence looked decent. Look, the New England defense has not been great, is what was supposed to be the strength of this team. But I will say Drake May looked pretty good. I got to watch some of this game. The Jags played really well. I think it was like a must win for them
Yeah,
to save
Brian
their
Thomas
season.
continued to look really good, as did Tank Bigsby. Like they seem to have got a good thing going with those two at least. But you're right, I feel like it still delays the inevitable that, Doug Peterson, I don't think he's going to be the coach by the end of the year. So
No,
we'll see.
yeah, we'll see. Moving right along, another really kind of interesting game, which was the Seattle Bengals going to Cleveland. Obviously, we mentioned that Deshaun Watson, he tore his Achilles. I think it was about halfway through the game, but the Bengals win 21-14. Not an amazing game by Joe Burrow. I had Joe Burrow in a parlay bet or bet builder plus 200 yards. Did not 19 yards away. It was a brutal thing. But they did just enough to win. This gets the Bengals to 3-4 now. So they're crawling back from that awful start. I think their offense is elite. Their defense is okay. But I think they've got, the right amount to get out of the hole that they built themselves in.
It was great to see Nick Chubb score a touchdown though.
It was
Come
great.
back for
Nick
the
Chubb
first time in a
return.
year.
Yeah.
Like that was, even though obviously they lost the game and it's not been a great season for the Browns, but that was one bright spot for him to come back and score a touchdown.
Shout out to our good friend teammate Ollie, whose birthday was it yesterday?
It was, yeah.
Yesterday. He was very excited that Nick Chubb came back on his birthday. We all love Nick Chubb, Bulldog. And
Don't tell him.
So,
it was me who rang Kevin Stefanski and said, "Listen, this is Ollie's birthday. Just hold off on Nick Chubb
Get
for
him in the
another."
end zone.
Yeah, that was all my doing. Don't tell Ollie though, obviously.
well, I don't think he listens to the pod if he's not on it, so that's good. Another game here, moving right along, was the Tennessee Titans. They go to New York and they just get pummeled by the Bills, 34-10. The Titans started Mason Rudolph, correct? Yeah, and he looked okay at the beginning of the game. I remember because this was I have Josh Allen, and I was looking I'd say the first quarter. It was like, oh, Tennessee's coming to play, and this is going to be a game. And then the Bills and Josh Allen just started doing what they do. They look great. Amari Cooper did have a touchdown in this one, right?
Keon Coleman as well had a bit of a breakout game as well. I think he had over 100 yards.
He did 125.
Yeah, 125. So yeah, good game for the Bills.
Yeah.
Again, all these are blowouts. You had the Philadelphia Eagles going up to New York, also winning 28-3. This game wasn't even close. I barely watched any of it, but this was obviously the big Barkley
huge Saquon
game.
Barkley game.
Saquon had 176 yards and a touchdown. He had another two receptions with 11 yards. This was all him. Barkley showed New York what a big mistake they did.
It was quite an interesting game in the fact though that there was a lot of sacks to start off with. So I think the first 6 possessions ended in punts or or turnover on downs. Like the Giants defense looked really good. Like Brian Burns, there's a reason why they lead the league in sacks. But as soon as the Eagles, I know Jalen Hurts threw a touchdown on 4th and 3. And then when they were up by 14, they just continued to run away with it. And Saquon had an absolute monster day. And one thing to point out about Saquon is that he could have had, I think, his career high. So he was on the sideline and Nick Sirianni went up to him and said, look, you're this close to your career high. Do you want to go in and get it? And he was like, no, I want you to give the ball to the other guys. So for him to do that when he had the chance to break his career high after he just had a monster game is, kind of speaks to the temperament and the person that is Saquon Barkley, I would say.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He's a great player. And it was fun to watch. Yeah. This was on, again, back at the Hippodrome. This was on one of those smaller TVs to the right. And I felt like every time I looked up, I either saw Daniel Jones doing something awful or Saquon Barkley doing something
It
great?
it's one of those after a short while. It's we are now going to switch to a more competitive game
Yeah.
kind of games.
Yes.
Speaking of, we're going to move right along to the next game. This was a Tom. So we talk about we pregame a lot, and I try to pick the games. And Tom said that this game should go with the Falcons Seattle game, which I overruled him because I'm the host and I can do that. But we'll shout out to the Las Vegas Raiders traveling to SoFi take on the LA Rams. The Rams win 20-15. I have no idea why Tom gives a fuck about this game. Excuse my language. Cares about this game, except for the fact that he knows that his division is awful. And anyway, the Raiders traded Devontae Adams this week. They started O'Connell, right, who got hurt almost, halfway in the game again. I'm just going to say halfway in
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah.
Look, I don't think either of these teams are going to do much this year, but yeah. Anyway, anything to take from the game that you're excited about, Tom?
Yeah.
Oh,
I really
no,
liked.
I'm talking to Tom Fletch. You
No,
can go
I
next.
really liked some of what the Rams did on defense, especially I think they got Karl got he got a return for a touchdown. That was quite impressive from them. And, to see how banged up that they are. Kyron Williams had another touchdown. He continued his streak of 9 straight games with a touchdown. So it was a decent game from the Rams. Obviously not a great game overall, but it was the final few minutes that was somewhat exciting. So yeah, that was why I like watching the Raiders lose as well. So I can't deny that. But
Fletch, what do you got for us?
Yes. I mean, totally unrelated that nobody really cares about that. Obviously has no implications for anything ever. But did anyone notice Max Crosby looking a little bit frustrated?
yes,
I
yes.
just thought I'd point it out there that some guy like that Max Crosby guy looked a little bit frustrated. I don't
I
know,
think he would
maybe.
look great in black and red. I'm just saying that.
Do you really? I think you're wrong. I think he'd look even better I think
If
he
you
should
have
just.
multiple
He
first
looks.
round picks, then go for it,
He
Chapman.
he had.
I
I
think
just
if
think he
I
looks
could take
homesick. He looks
if
homesick.
we can take Max Crosby to Magic City, he would never leave Atlanta. And I'm sorry.
I think Max Crosby just looks homesick. He needs to go home. Now, I can't remember where is it he's from again.
Is it Eastern Michigan, right?
Detroit, I believe, is the place. The name is like the name of the place that he. So I think he should go home, be with his family, play for the local NFL team around there. Just look, I'm just thinking of what's best for Max. No ulterior motives there.
What's best for Max, and I know this man who smokes cigars all the time and has a lot of things to say. Magic City is the place where he would love to live, or the Pink Pony, or the Oasis. I mean, I can keep going. Anyway, very interesting. We'll see if anything happens. I'm going to hit the rest of these games really quick just because the scores. Denver Broncos beat up on the Lonely Saints, 33-10. Then you have the Dolphins losing in Indianapolis to the Colts 16-10. Finally, uh, the biggest beatdown of the week, which was the Washington Commanders beating the Panthers 40-7 without Jaden Daniels. Marcus Mariota makes his triumphant return in the NFL.
Yeah, he had a good game when he came in as well.
It's Fugazi. I can tell you, it's Fugazi. It's Fugazi. You don't want this man starting more than 1 or 2 games. Anyway, those are the scores of the week. Fletch, did you have something? I feel like you were going to say something.